it's Linda. Oh, Anne, I glued my hand to my cheek. I'm walking around the house trying every kind of product and I can't get it off. Oh, nothing'll work. I've super glued myself to myself. What? I was fixing that chair that my Aunt Fran sat in, you know, the one she broke with her big fat arse. The wooden one, yeah. My granny gave me that chair, so, well, I decided to fix it. The wood glue didn't seem to be working, so I super glued it. I was lying down. I was lying down underneath the chair, gluing the entire bottom half of the seat because, well, I noticed these cracks, these small little cracks. And I figured, why not just cover the whole bottom with glue? So it'll be stronger and then it'll last longer. But then the chair came apart and then the seat landed on my cheek and I put my hand in front of my face to protect myself and then my hand got stuck to my cheek. Oh, it all happened so fast. What am I going to do? I'm walking around the house like a complete idiot and I've tried everything. I've tried soap, detergent, nail polish remover, Windex, Febreze, vodka, toilet bowl cleaner, Pine Sol and Pledge. God knows what else. And my face looks so swollen. Every time I try to pull my hand off my cheek, it just hurts way too much, like the skin wants to come off. And my eye is burning and it just keeps tearing and I might go blind now because I'm beginning to see blurry and I'd be walking around the house with one eye and one arm. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh.
It was one of those occasions where it was a writing exercise to try and write a soundscape of my life. And I couldn't get started, so I pinched someone else's life altogether. So this is soundscape of Declan's life. He heard the sound of London outside his door and saw his mother growing with the next child. The sounds of life told with an Irish lilt, the floor to sweep, the fire to light. Outside was green and spacious, inside cramped and whispered. Dad off to work at 6, his back leaving. Brother in the pram in the hallway, rigid in knitted armour against the cold. A moving van with stuttering engine at the door, the clatter of boxes and chairs and ware, a roar across the city to a new home. Here were the years he'd remember, with a house, a yard, and rats behind the shed, and endless games of football in the alley, till the house filled with children, and their chatter, their fighting and grumbling. The schoolyard beckoned, chanting girls and buzzing boys at play. The altar server ringing the Eucharist bell, in the sacristy, where a deaf brother kept the silence and taught the boys to fingerspell. The round of work and sleep and work again, the rhythms of his world never ceasing. Thank you.
When I first arrived in old London town, along Camden High Road I did walk down, jumped into the back of John Murphy's van, full of youth and vigour and my pen in hand. By 10 that first morning I thought I'd expire, stuck down the hole with Connemara Sean. that end of a week, set out a pace that would kill Hercules. Then the ganger man came, says, lads, take a break. Old Shawnee jumped out with a ballerina's grace. It felt like I was climbing the post of his tower, with poor legs and arms like wilting flowers. He wolfed down his sandwich, and before I did know, old Shawnee was back down John Murphy's hole. Nothing an Olympian was with great reluctance that I rejoined him. I crawled out of the hole at the end of the day, all of me senses in terminal decay. Crawled into the back of John Murphy's van, too tired to talk or for white bread and ham. To the favourite in Holloway, Shawnee to go, to hear Bobby Casey, Confort and John Bow, Roger Sherlock, Ryan Rooney, or Ben Wire, Danny Mead and Raymond Rollins, or Brendan Mulcair. And as I was sleeping the sleep of the dead, old Shawnee was dancing to wheels and to jigs, firing out pints and singing the shinnoes, where he got his energy, God alone knows. Then early next morning, fresh as a rose, we'd be back down on a John Murphy's hose, loving up muck in his trousers and vest. Such was the sight that the Irish possessed. And at the weekends we did all go to the Forum, the Gresham, the Galtymore, the Harp and the Shamrock, the Garryowen, the Bamba Hibernia and our Buffalo. Jiving and waltzing and singing along to Joe Dole and Larry Cunningham, our Big Tom, our horse and outsets, and too tired to stand to the Tulla or Kelpin or Kelly bands. Many years later I met poor Shawnee, his energy spent, his back bent and lean. He smiled and he says, "Our times ever lean, when we worked for the man from Cahersiveen. And although times were tough, sure the crack it was good, in Camden and Kilburn and Cricklewood. And we could escape, but the nights they were long, far away from the likes of the Elephant John. But to work on the building sites now, you and me, we definitely need to have a degree. For with health and safety in the CSCS, we need method statements and assessments to rest. There's not too much crack now in John Murphy's bands. Albanians, Poles, and Lithuanians have taken the place of the likes of Shawnee. The crack once was 90, but now it is lean. So here's to the music we did enjoy, in the pubs and the clubs where the tear in our eyes. Fair play to the players and singers of songs who lifted our hearts when our hearts needed them. Tom O'Connell, Martin Burns, Andy Boyle, Lucy Farr, Sean O'Shea, Julie Clifford and Tommy Maguire, Michael Hines, Tommy McCarthy, Jimmy Powell and Reg Hall. Raise up your glasses now, here's to them all.
My second poem's called The Shrine, and it's a story, really. I think it'll make sense to you. It's most people will understand it. I've read this before to people who hadn't got a clue what was going on, but I think most people in this audience will understand. The Shrine. Plaster Our Lady with a broken nose, hand snapped off to show a metal stump, unseen indoors behind a huge pot plant. She's been blessed, bedecked with holy hopes and plenary indulgences. We can't throw her away. The garden wall is taking shape. I mix the muck while Dad lays bricks between the strings we've stretched to mark its course. On hardcore made of broken stones and crocks. It's hot. It all dries quickly in the sun. We start to think the job is almost done. One last course to lay, I shovel, and Dad looks for a little more rubble to complete the job. I haul more sand and water for the mix, and Dad has disappeared into the house. When he returns, he's holding something, giggling in that shoulder-shaking way I love. The Virgin appears in the back garden Fatima, and I'm awestruck, a child looking on. She's tucked into a space he's left for her. She stands chipped and smiling, miraculously reaching out her hands. Don't tell your mother, he conspires, and if anyone asks, she's gone into a shrine.
The devil mend Mary Dool for putting lies on me and letting on she was grand. Or the devil mend the old saint for letting me see it was lies. The devil mend Timmy the smith for killing me with hard work, keeping me with an empty, windy stomach in me in the day and in the night. And 10,000 devils mend the soul of Mary Byrne, and their bad, wicked souls is hidden in all the women of the world. It's lonesome I'll be from this day. And if living people is a bad lot, yet Mary Dool herself, and she a dirty, wrinkled-looking hag, was better maybe to be sitting along with no one at all. I'll be getting my death now. I'm thinking, sitting alone in the cold air, hearing the night coming and the blackbirds flying around in the briars, crying to themselves. The time you'd hear one cart going off in the east, a long way, and another cart getting off a long way in the west. And a dog barking maybe. And a little wind turning the sticks. I'd be destroyed, sitting alone and losing my senses this time, the way I'm after losing my sight. 'Twould make any person afear to be sitting up, hearing the sound of his breath and the noise of his feet, when it's a power of queer things to be stirring. Little sticks breaking, the grass moving, till you take your dying oath on sun and moon, a thing was breathing in the stones. I'll be going now, I'm thinking. I'm not sure what place my stick's in. There's a thing with a cold living face and it's sitting right by my side. Oh, my road is lost now. Oh, merciful God, set my foot on the path this day and I'll be saying prayers morning and night, and not straining my ear after young girls or doing any bad thing till I die.
My young love said to me, my of kind, and she stepped away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. She stepped away from me, and she moved through the fair, and fondly I watched her move here and move there. Then she made her way homeward with one star awake, as the swan in the evening moves over the lake. I dreamt it last night that my dear love came in. So softly she moved that her feet made no din. Then she came close beside me, and this she did say, he will not be long, love, till our wedding day.
Be quiet, your reverence. What is it ails you with your wrigglings now? Is it choking, maybe? It's only letting on you are, Holy Father, for your nose is blowing back and forward as easy as an east wind on the April day. Oh, there now, Holy Father, let you stay easy. I'm telling you, and learn a little sense and patience, the way you'll not be so airy again going to rob poor sinners of their scraps of gold. Oh, that's a good boy you are now, your reverence, and let you not be uneasy, for we wouldn't hurt you at all. It's sick and sorry we are to tease you. But what did you want, meddling with the likes of us, when it's a long time we are going our own ways? Father and son, and his son after him, or mother and daughter, and our own daughter again, and it's little need we ever had of going up to the church and swearing, and all the swearing with it, a word no man would believe, or withdrawing rings on our fingers, would be cutting our skins, maybe we would be taking the ass from the shafts and pulling the straps, they'd be slippery with going around beneath the heavens in rains falling. Maybe he'd swear a mighty oath he wouldn't harm us, and then we'd safer lose him, for if we went to drown him, they'd maybe hang the batch of us, man and child and woman, and the ass itself. Would you swear by an oath, Holy Father, to leave us in our freedom and not talk at all? Oh, didn't I tell you? Ha! Look at the poor fella, nodding his head off in the bias of the sacks. Strip them off him, and he'll be easy now.
I'm Chris. So this is my book, Gut Feelings, about my own illness. So it's kind of told in verse, but it's quite stylized by the designer. So it's a little bit different. So basically, when I was 11, I had a chronic illness. It's called familial adenomatous polyposis, and it's essentially my granddad and my mum had it and I got it, and it's caused by a faulty gene. And essentially you get these little polyps, like small little lumps that grow in the large intestine, and they turn cancerous. So I had surgery, invasive surgery, when I was 13, 17 and 18 in order to kind of control it. But it is a chronic illness, and I have put my story out there. So the book is told in 3 different sections. So it looks my kind of diagnosis in my early childhood. The second section looks at my treatment, and then the third section is the aftermath. So this is going to look, this is the section about the treatment, and it's kind of more so around my mum and how important she was in sort of my journey in my life. So this is called Mam. Mam and I fight like cat and dog, but we love each other. We just can't live together under the same roof. I can talk to my friends, my sister, my family about most things, but nobody understands my illness quite like Mam, who lives it. I've had it all my life. Just when I think I've seen it all, my stool will discolor. I'll get a different pain. I'll feel dizzy. Symptoms recur and repeat. Sometimes new ones emerge. When that happens, I feel so low, hiding under the covers. Mam is there, holding my hand as tears wet my pillow. And then the continuation of that is kindred spirits. So it's this one here. So it's kind of like the idea of having my mum as a lifeline. So kindred spirits, a lifeline, a heart, keeping me beating, moving forward in time, in the world around me. Her heart anchors me here, momentarily, in stronghold kisses, in make everything better hugs. She thinks like me, she loves. So there was a couple of more that I want to read just while I'm here. So this is just from the third section, which is the aftermath when I've had my surgeries. And well, when I was going through my third surgery and kind of my experience after that. So this one's called Screams. A patient screams, pulling tubes from her body, flooding the floor with blood and urine. I swipe across my phone, desperate for a distraction from alarming nights and exhausting days. Twisting and turning, tubes wrap around my body like vines, choking me. The only thing that keeps me sane is the ping of a message from my first crush. A volcano of happiness erupts in me, eclipsing the screams, dissolving anxiety. Glow. We talk about nothing. We talk about everything. When I sleep at night, no one can steal my glow. And then I just want to read you one last one. It was a very personal poem because when I was writing it, I was finding it very difficult to be vulnerable, and this was the breaking point. So I'm very quite candid in the story. And this one's called Love and Sex. The difference between love and sex is a promise cemented in trust. I've experienced hands and hair happiness, sweaty sensuality dripping down scorching skin, and the magical madness of everything you are intertwining someone else's everything. I've never trusted anyone enough to open the door and let my sea of secrets spill out. Love binds my throat, clogs my pores, but it never escapes into the arms of an awaiting lover.
I'm Marie, and my poem is by Porrick Pearse. He was actually born Patrick Pearse to an English father, but they moved to Dublin soon after his birth, and he immediately fell in love with the language, spending every moment he could in the various areas on the West Coast where it was mainly spoken. As he grew and he went to university doing several degrees, he became a barrister, he was a teacher, he set up a school, a bilingual school, where children used the Irish language as their main means of communicating. He joined the Gaelic League a few years later, which was set up to preserve both the language and the culture. And without Porrick Pierce, I doubt whether we would have an Irish language today, because it was in a lot of trouble back at that time. And during my school days, the rumor at my school was that my headmistress had been engaged to marry Porrick Pierce, and when he met his death, she decided to become a nun. And she was certainly about 150 by the time I knew her. But anyway, I'm not sure whether that's true or not. So my poem is, he wrote lots of poetry, lots of prose, lots of stories. He was a brilliant wordsmith. And his most famous English poem is probably The Mother, which it's impossible to read without crying your eyes out. And I think he wrote some very sad poetry, which was often allegorical. Isagan is one that everybody would have read at school. Oni Nene, and the one I'm going to say now, which is called Bansleva Equina Amok, about I think Anna's going to put up some words, I'm not sure, but anyhow, I will say it to you. Bron an mas, she du mo crisha, du de mo gra estog me clíte gan cara, gan campana for yin mo hisha, o gan len sha imola is me cuine. E gal na sleve dam tranona, do lar le hen lam go bronak. Do lar an nesk bin is an crata glorag, eg fasnes dam gur eg mostorig. Do glemeath is the glor near hulis, do glemerish ag fragra nivorus, do fog me do vel is a year nor a vure, og is fori do labbe sigilin wegnek. Is a oeg old glas in a wilma lanev, a oeg chelviag ostu a labba. Ma vanata is na milche banata na for the glassa, a tho os cian mo fata. Broner an mas. Ni fedra hienev lagen she oer agus cyn le gela. Is a walk-in wanla. Is a mochesep do chalen chrev behig jen of Clifford. Lir she san oe glas anish alana. Money he on culla gare, ac on culla fada. Ma dog thu gojo me. Is mochion I vulek ag shilt na jora. No goje me I tholiv.
When I was 16, I remember slipping out one Sunday night. It was about this time of year, the beginning of August. And me and Bernie met at the gate to the workhouse. And the pair of us off to a dance in Ardstraw. I was being pestered by this fella, Timmy Carlin, at the time. But it was really Brian McGuinness that I was keen on. Do you remember Brian, with the white hands and the longest eyelashes that you ever saw? But of course, he was crazy about Bernie. Anyhow, the two boys put us on the bars of their bike and the four of us off to Ardstraw, 15 miles each way. If Daddy had known, may he rest in peace. And at the end of the night, there was a competition for the best military two-step. And it was down to 3 couples, a local pair from Ardstraw, me and wee Timmy. He was only up to here on me. And Brian and Bernie. And they were just so beautiful together. So stylish. You couldn't take your eyes off them. People stopped dancing just to stare at them. And at the end of the night, when the judges announced the winners, they were probably blind drunk. Naturally, the local pair came first. Me and wee Timmy came second. And Brian and Bernie came third. Poor Bernie was stunned. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't talk. She wouldn't speak to us for the rest of the night. She wouldn't even cycle home with us. Well, she was right to. They should have won. They were just so beautiful together. That was the last time I saw Brian McGuinness. Do you remember Brian? The next thing I heard, he'd left for Australia. She was right to be angry. Bernie, I know it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair at all. They were probably blind drunk, them judges, whoever they were.
I was 11, the May sent me to the butcher's to buy a needle and a spool of thread. It was the day Robert left us. No explanations, no goodbyes. He just got into his car with his cello and drove away. So the May and I, we went into town and we sat at the Bluebell Hotel, where the May downed 6 patties and red, and I had 6 lemon and limes. Then the May turned to me with her sunglasses on, though it was the middle of winter. She turned to me and she said, "Millie, would you ever run up to the butcher's and get me a needle and a spool of thread?" Now at 11, I knew enough to know that needles and thread were bought in the drapery, but I thought maybe it was a special kind of thread the May wanted, and because of the day that was in it, I decided not to argue. So off I went to the butcher's and I asked for a needle and a spool of thread, and of course they didn't have any. Back I went to the Bluebell, sat beside the May and said rather gruffly, "Ma'am, they don't sell needles and thread in the butcher's." "Do they not, sweetheart?" The May whispered and started to cry. "You all right, Mum?" I asked. "I'm grand," she said. "Go up there and order me another patty in red." When I returned with the drinks, the May said to me, "Millie, don't you worry about a thing. Your dad'll come back and we will have the best of lives."
In a small hotel in London, I was sitting down to dine, and the waiter brought me the register and he asked me to sign. And as I signed, I saw a name which set my heart astir. A certain Francis Farrelly had signed the register. Now, I knew a lot of Farrellys, and out of all the crew, I was wondering which Farrelly were you? Were you that keen-eyed Kerry man I met below Kenmare, who told me that when Ireland fought, the odds were never fair? If Cromwell had met Sarsfield or Owen Rua O'Neill, it's not to Mr. Gladstone we'd be looking for repeal. We'd have Ireland for the Irish, not a Saxon to be seen, and only Gaelic spoken in the house in College Green. Told me landlords were the devil and their agents were 10 times worse, and every sort of government for Ireland was a curse. Well, if you're there, Francis Farrelly, your dream may not have come true, but slaunch of Francis, for I like a man like you. Or were you the Francis Farrelly who'd often used to say he'd like to drive those papers from Derry's walls away? The boy who used to bother me the Orange lads to join and told me history started at the Battle of the Boyne. I was not with you, Francis. The Pope is not my friend, but yet I hope he'll die without that bloody end. And when you quit yourself and get to kingdom come, there's no use teaching you the harp. You'll want to play the orange drum. I seen you in Belfast one night when the Antrim Road was out, the way those papist paving stones were popping off your head. Sure, I thought you were dead. If you're that Francis Farrelly who came from North Tyrone, here's looking at you, Francis, but leave the Pope alone. Or were you the Francis Farrelly who in my college days, from strolling on the Kingstown pier, had such a curious gaze? Do you remember the blonde and the brunette? I know I've not forgotten, and I don't think you can forget the picnic at the Dark and the other at the Scalp. How my heart was palpitating, hers wasn't, not a palp. Some say you married money, and maybe you were wise, but the gold you loved was in her eyes and the gold in her hair. 'Twas some militia officer that married the brunette, but the blonde one, she always loved you, and I knew you loved her too. So my blessing on you, Francis, and the blue skies over you. Or were you that Francis Farrelly I met so long ago in the bog below Benmullet, in the county of Mayo, the long-legged, freckled Francis with those deep-set, wistful eyes that seemed to take their colour from those ever-changing skies, who put his flute together as I sketched the distant scene and played for me Planxty Kelly and the wakes of Inishkeen, and told me in the autumn he'd be sailing to the west to try and make his fortune and send some money home to the rest. And would I draw a picture of the place where he was from, and he'd hang it up and look at it and not feel so forlorn. If you're there, Francis Fowley, your dream may not have come true. But I miss you, Francis, and I never can forget you, though it's years and years ago when we met in the bog below Belmullet in the county of Mayo. Sinead.
I was up to me oxters in peat mould, patriotically digging the bog, when me slaying struck against something hard, sir. 'Twas a stone or a lump of a log. 'Twas a chest of the finest of boak, sir, neatly bound up with strips of elk hide. Just I said, oh, bugger the fairies, I'd just take a wee look inside. Preserved in the bog through the ages and addressed to the High King Abu. 'Twas an ancient old Irish French letter, a relic of Brian Boru. 'Twas made of the finest elk hide, sir, and stood nigh on 9 inches tall, with a little brass knob on the end, sir, and his name and his stud fee and all. So I cast me mind back through the ages, and I pictured that hairy old Celt, King Brian Boru in his bed, sir, Queen Grania Whale in her pelt. Now the King of Dalcatia was angry, as he outlined his terrible plight. You've had your own way long enough, dear. 'Tis the hairy side out love tonight.